Hi, welcome to the show. My name's Jesse Goldberg, and my guest today is Jeff Syracuse, part 3, I think now, right? You've won a long time ago.
Probably so. It has been a few different
Let's make
times.
it part 2.
Right.
That's part 2. Jeff Syracuse from Buffalo.
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, Jeff is a councilman from District
15 in Donaldson.
15 in Donaldson.
Yes.
Where the studio is going to be sometime soon, right?
I'm hoping so. You know, it's been a really interesting process here where NECAT has evolved for sure over the last 30 years. And so they've moved from under the IT department to now under library, who has the capacity to really help manage the quality of the content. I think 30 some years ago, it was probably more about the complexity of the delivery of the content when cable was exploding and whatnot, right? But
we had a bigger audience because there was only like cable. There was no Netflix. There was no Amazon. There was no, so we had more of the community, more percentage of the community watching.
Sure. So there is the potential that, Donaldson is my 8-year project so far, has been getting a new library for Donaldson. So there is the possibility, it looks pretty good, that the new home for NECAT could be
in the library,
the soon-to-be old Donaldson Library. So we've done the assessment of the building. It came out back that it would work.
So it's the old library, not the new library.
You're correct, right.
Right.
So, but road frontage, street presence,
parking?
Very convenient parking.
We have to walk a long way to the studio.
Yeah, no.
And we can't park in
Right.
That's another.
Exactly.
So anyway, you are right now in your 8th year of being a councilman?
It's hard to believe. It's been 2 terms and only a couple months left.
So you termed out.
Yeah.
So now you're running for councilman at large.
One of the 5 countywide council seats, right.
Right. Yeah. And now I don't know, how does that work? I don't even know how the mayor's work works. There's like a lot of people run and then it goes down to 2 and then you vote again.
Yeah,
right?
a runoff election,
right?
Right. Yeah, the way that it works is, so you've got what, 14, 15 people running for mayor, and you've got 21, I believe it is, running for 5 of the at-large seats. So you have to get 20% plus 1 in order to avoid the runoff.
You're talking about
for at-large, right?
At-large,
so
okay.
Then you have to go to at-large. So the election is August 3rd, and then
the first election.
The first election, right?
Okay.
And then for those that get into the runoff election, I believe it's September 14th, somewhere around there.
Everybody's going to vote twice.
Well, right. Well, you get to vote for who's left and who got into the runoff, right?
So you told me before we started this thing that only 20% of the people vote in these things.
It's incredibly low. It's unfortunate. So, this is an important election, of course. It's local. As they say, all politics is local. And, we've all heard this before, where you should be more involved in local because that's what impacts your daily life. So this year we're going to have a brand new mayor. Some new council members, some will come back for sure, but you'll have new council members, and there is a vice mayor election also. So it's important folks get out. You have to register, whether you've moved within Davidson County or you're brand new, by July 5th.
Well, if you've registered as a regular voter, you're registered already, right?
If you're already registered and you haven't moved, you're still in Davidson County, you haven't moved within Davidson County.
Right. I usually vote a few times. No, just
you're right. That's the Chicago way, right? Yes. Yeah.
So now you've been a councilman, and you told me you were on this committee for was it gun violence, or is that what you said? Health and what's the committee?
I chair public health and safety. So council has a number of committees that reviews legislation, looks at certain initiatives or whatnot, and so my committee is both has some oversight over our public health department and our public safety department. And what's fascinating to me, one of the things I love about this job is I'm always learning, but it's interesting to learn about the synergy between health and public safety, right? And sometimes you don't think about health. There's pandemic, which we just went through. There's vaccines. There's all sorts of things within health, mental health. But then you think about public safety as just police, fire, 911 or whatnot. But there's more and more of a synergy between the two.
Well, before we go into the shootings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Let's the vaccine rollout was pretty good when they had it at the what was that? The big place on Downtown.
Downtown at the Titans parking lot and all that?
No,
Right?
they had it in the Metro Center. What do they call that place?
Oh, was there at Metro Center?
No, not Metro Center. The big place that they built, that Mayor Dean built. You know that.
Oh, the convention center.
Yeah, the big one.
Right. Yeah, Music City Center.
Music City Center.
Yes.
Right. That's it. Right.
They had a few different ones. There was one there. There was one in North Nashville. But yes.
But that was good the way they did it. It was excellent the way they did it.
It worked. It did work.
Yeah.
In extraordinary times.
And who set that up? Was that the council?
That's health department. So
the health department.
Right.
But not the council.
Not the council. That's
Right.
Definitely the health department. So across the state, most of the smaller counties come under the state health department, but the largest counties that of a certain size, they actually have their own health department to manage the specific needs of a large
Well,
urban
whether you're
county.
for vaccines or against vaccines,
Right. That's
the organization of the giving out of the vaccines was done
is
very well.
Metro Health Department.
Whoever did that.
They did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
The amount of stress and whatnot that was on them. We
Yeah.
all deserved a bit of grace and mercy during those days, for sure.
That was very, very, very well done.
Right.
So now let's get the. What about the other parts, the shooting parts and all the guns and all that?
Sure. So after the
I'm not very articulate here.
No, that's okay. So the Covenant School, tragedy. When
Right.
that happened, you take this job to help people, and of course, be it tornado, pandemic, flood, and then this. These are scenarios where all of a sudden you feel extraordinarily helpless. I made a couple calls. Uvalde, Texas, who just last year went through a horrible shooting at a school, right? And then Sandy Hook. They both formed foundations, the Uvalde Foundation for Kids, the Sandy Hook Promise. And I talked to them and I said, what should I be doing? And it was interesting that they both had the same answer. And they said, you know what, right now, don't do anything. Just focus on your grief. Focus on your kids, their families, the parents, the schools, and just make sure you take care of your community first. Take your time, and then be thoughtful about how you turn your grief into action. So that's what I did. It was very comforting, unfortunately, to hear from those who had gone through that, to say, how do I deal with this as a community leader?
Is there something else that happened after that now?
So sure. So with over the past month and a half or two, I did exactly what they suggested, which was take your time and be thoughtful about what you want to do. They said, don't be in a rush to pass a bunch of legislation. Just take your time. And so now we are having 3 special called meetings of the Public Health and Safety Committee. The first one is going to be the focus of Metro Schools and Metro PD and Fire to talk about that relationship between school safety, schools, and our public school.
Well, wouldn't it help just to have like a security guard there?
Well, for sure. So exactly what you just said. Multiply that by thousands of all the parents who have questions about why aren't we doing this? What about this? Have you thought about this? And they're all great questions. It was just last August that our Metro Police Department put a public, our school safety division. So that was brand new as of last August. And so this relationship between schools and PD has been growing. Just this past February, schools announced that they were going to start using this gun detection technology in the cameras. So there's a lot that has been going on within that relationship there, and it continues to evolve. Of course, Covenant School is a private school, so there's that as well. So at this meeting, we are going to learn about everything that they have been doing when they've formed that school safety division. And we're going to learn about that. We're going to ask questions. The one thing I really want folks to know about is that as part of the community engagement for these 3 special meetings, there's a website that you can go to on nashville.gov, and that's how I'm asking for everybody to submit their comments, questions, concerns. So as we finalize the structure of these meetings, that we make sure we address all of the topics. I've been going across the county to parent advisory council meetings to learn about, to hear, listening to her, to hear from parents.
So if they have a guard in every school or a security guy in every school, That's paid for by the city? Is that how it works?
So yes, it could be. The governor did just sign a $140 million spending bill for school safety, and in that
So it could be by the state.
and so in that it does fund a security resource officer, SROs, for each school. How we implement that is still a little bit of a question that a lot of parents have.
Right.
So I want this to be the one truth, if you will, the place where people can get their answers. Because, you know, after Covenant and whatnot, you're hearing from either your school board member, school administration, PD, or council member, and sometimes you get little nuanced answers.
But sometimes I think it's got to get started already. You got to just get a guy in there just to start with, and then figure out the rest of it after. But you got to have somebody to stop somebody.
For sure, that's no question.
It's not just the schools; it's everywhere. Violence is everywhere. Shooting in Bellevue, shooting in Donaldson policeman.
Yesterday.
I mean, it's like every time you turn on the news, it's like shooting, kidnapping. Let's do the weather. Let's go to the sports.
You're absolutely right. So this 3 special meeting series, that first one is going to be about schools and PD. The middle one is going to be more of a town hall style meeting. And Daniel Chapin, who is the founder of the Evaldi Foundation for Kids, he's coming to Nashville. And we're going to host that at Hillsborough High School so that everybody can come. And we're going to have a discussion there about a number of things. Certainly, we have a strong nonprofit community here in Nashville. And one of the questions I have going forward is how do we take our place, as we are now a city that has been afflicted by a mass shooting in a school? How do we take our place and take the rising tide lifts all boats approach?
We had more than a mass shooting. We had the Waffle House thing. We had
correct.
There was other things. Something else happened at Antioch.
It was at a church.
Right.
Yeah. So this was the first at a school, but you're absolutely correct. This is not the first mass shooting that we've had. So that'll be kind of a town hall style. Then on the third meeting on January 28th, it's going to be all Wednesdays, June 14th, June 21st, June 28th. At the meeting on the 28th is where we take a deep dive with our Metro Public Health Department on gun violence as a public health epidemic, because that's what it's become. We have to figure out the mental health support, domestic violence.
You know, the other side is, you know, I'm keeping my gun, so if somebody comes after me, I'm going to be able to protect myself.
Sure, absolutely.
It's like
here at the local level, you know, you can't pass gun legislation. That's state and federal.
Right.
But from a public health epidemic perspective, there's things that Metro is already doing. In the mayor's office, there is a gun violence interruption program where North Nashville and Southeast are the pilot programs, and it's there to try to get engaged with the community to help them understand that they have different options than picking up a gun and making a bad choice. Specifically when, let's say, you have a shooting of somebody.
Yeah, but when you got a crazy person, you can't talk to crazy people.
Well, sure. So that's where the public health piece comes in. It's the mental health piece, it's the drugs and whatnot.
There's too many of them. You can't. I mean, one slips through and he kills a bunch of people.
Right. But you know what? As far as what the public can do, it's frustrating that a lot of the guns that are used in crimes are stolen out of people's cars, unlocked cars, loaded guns. The police are putting out statistics every week about how many guns this week have been stolen out of cars. If folks would just please try to make sure that they keep their guns with them or keep them locked. Well, don't and lock your cars and don't have them in plain sight.
Everything is just two sides to everything, you know. Gun rights, and take the guns away, don't take the guns away.
Sure.
Police, the sides on the police. People have a lot of bad experience with police.
Yeah.
But you need police, but what they did with the school shooting, when they came in like a couple minutes, the heroes,
they were
right?
Heroes, absolutely.
So, but there's bad people in the police force too, and they have a bad reputation for those kind of things. But but you got to have police. You can't. I mean, I've had some bad experience with the police, right?
Sure.
But I have a good experience with the police too.
Right.
I guess it depends on who you get.
I will say that Chief Drake has done a great job about community policing.
One other thing is that, and I don't just keep talking, but is that police have become afraid to do their jobs because if they do their jobs, they might wind up, I forgot where it was, with that Floyd guy.
George Floyd.
George Floyd, right? I forgot was it Minnesota?
He was murdered. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, the guys, things. I know he didn't do the right thing, obviously, but
Sure.
But you could wind up being in jail for murder. You know.
Right, right. Well, that at council was the big discussion about the body cameras, right? And ultimately, I think is a win-win, right? Police want them also, because they want their actions recorded to show, if they are innocent of something, then there's proof.
It's an impossible job to do.
They are indeed, and we need to make sure we pay them well because they've earned it. And
they risk their lives every day.
That's right.
But then again, there's some people who have a bad attitude.
No, for sure. And there's discussions going on right now. I mean, the state just passed where they abolished the community oversight boards that were, and so something else we're dealing with at my committee about that the state allows.
I interviewed that guy on TV who was the head of that one.
Did you? Yeah. So unfortunately, 134,000 people in this county said that they wanted that, and that's what we established. And now that that's going away.
If you look at the communities across the country who have defunded the police, they've gone to. They're disintegrating,
I think that is bad marketing. I think what they are trying to achieve, which is not a bad thing, and this is what I'm talking about, the synergy between public health and safety. It is supportive of the police to have mental health counselors go with them sometimes when they need to. They don't need to be dealing with all of these kinds of issues. We want them to keep us safe. But if there's a way to deal with somebody with a mental health counselor, talking them down from the ledge about making a bad decision, something like that, well, those things are all good. And that's what the folks that have been advocating for that are talking about. Take the money from here and put it over there. They are not mutually exclusive. We don't necessarily need to defund this in order to achieve this. So I hear what you want, but defunding this to get there is, I don't agree with that. That's the right way.
If all the cops were like Jamie and the guy from New Kids on the Block on Blue Bloods, we'd have a good police force.
That's a great show. Yes.
What's his name again? It's Danny in the show. Forgot his name. The guy, Mark Wahlberg's brother.
Donnie
Wahlberg, right.
And then you've got
and then Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck.
They should all be like that.
Hey, he's a great.
I've seen every episode.
It's a good show. Yeah, I do like it. Yeah.
And Tom Brady's old ex-girlfriend.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Aaron.
Yeah, that's right.
So anyway, let's get to the other topic we were talking about, the music venues.
Yeah, so I've spent 25 years in the music business. Hard to believe.
You still in?
I'm still at BMI.
Okay.
I walked in and got a job in the mailroom because that's one of the jobs I had in college. And almost 25 years later, I'm still at BMI. It's been an extraordinary career, great opportunity to serve creatives. I like to say I go to work every day to line songwriter pockets, not shareholder pockets. So it's a good feeling every day that you're supporting the creatives. But this city, as we know, and we've heard from a lot of people now for a while now, our rapid growth and development seems to be off balance. And we're starting this, not starting, I think we already have, we're steamrolling over the very special culture that has made us what we are, right? And part of that is the ability for a songwriter or musician to be able to move to the city and be successful. That has me concerned. It has me concerned that creatives can't afford to live here. It has me concerned that small businesses, like our local independent music venues, they don't even have the ability to control their own future. Most of those places, and this is true across the country, is that they don't own the building that they're operating in. And if the real estate market like we have is booming and that building that is not maybe architecturally worth saving, the land is worth more than the building itself, well, the property owner is probably going to say, you know what, time to cash in. And that's their legal right, but we also have to recognize that there's a critical cultural asset in that building that serves this city and our culture. So what is the role of government ultimately? To be able to partner with that property owner, to find a way to make them whole, if that's what they want to do and cash out, but try to get it perhaps in some sort of trust that we can then keep it as a critical cultural asset. So I got some money from the American Rescue Plan funds to do a deep dive study of our local independent music venues. And it's been going really well. Penn Praxis, Penn, University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia, they got the bid. And so their boots have been on the ground doing all sorts of study about, how much you paying in rent? What's your lease like? You know, with the landlord, much is the building worth? What's the zoning?
I can tell you one thing
entitlements?
they don't pay.
Yeah.
They don't pay the musicians.
The musicians, right? Well, yeah, exactly. That's certainly another issue.
When I first started playing, I moved to a resort town.
Yeah.
Because I knew I couldn't. I wanted to go somewhere where they actually pay me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so New York, Los Angeles, and Nashville were off the.
Nashville's a hard town to play in, right?
Yeah, I just went.
Especially down
I
on
moved to
Broadway.
Colorado when I started playing. After I got out of school, because I said, that's the only place I can make money there.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
No, I've heard that before as well. So the result of this, one option I think is looking at what Austin, Seattle, and even London have done to their iconic venues. They've created what they call a cultural land trust. Seattle's is kind of a hipster name. It's called the Seattle Cultural Space Agency. And Austin is kind of keeping it weird. Austin is the Austin Economic Development Corporation. Okay. But their goal, for example, in Austin, you ever heard of the Broken Spoke? It's been there since like the 60s. It's a club that has been,
the Broken Spoke here or the Broken Spoke there?
In Austin, Texas.
I heard of the one here.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I used to play there all the time.
Right. So the one in Austin has been there since the 60s, and obviously these venues are extraordinary incubators of talent. And if you don't have these places, what do you have left?
Didn't Douglas Corner just close down?
They did, but they reopened up as a new brand. And it looks great. I've seen the pictures of the inside, and so it's
it's open again.
It is back under a different management and a different brand.
That's one of those places.
It's not Douglas Corner anymore, right? But that does highlight I forget what's the name, something off 8th or something like that. But it highlights the untenable situation that these folks find themselves in. If they don't own the property, then they can't control their own future. Right. So how do we then, as government, what should be our role to fix what is the true equity issue, which is not a creative issue, it's a real estate issue. So out of this could be that cultural land trust that I talked about, where you could do a private-public partnership to make that property owner whole, but you pull control of that building into a trust, and then make sure that it's operated to serve local creatives.
Who owns the Bluebird?
The NSAI, National Songwriters Association.
They own the building I'm talking about.
They do, and so that's another interesting situation, because about 3-4 inches from their building is a skyscraper that's going in. And so fortunately, Bluebird and those that have a business in that commercial strip center, they are all pieces of the ownership of that building. So they have a little more control of their future. They don't have a landlord that says, tearing up your lease, you're out of here, I'm selling to 40-story, right, whatever. So that's the good news there, but it's still, it highlights the untenable situation that some of these iconic places have. And then it's important to note that this study is not just about saving what was.
Well, on the other side, there was, when I first moved to town, I was kind of a wise guy,
Yeah.
I played stupid songs, but it says, look, if you don't sit down, the guy said to me, if you don't sit down and shut up, you'll never play for free in this town again.
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, thanks for nothing. Right.
That's the truth, that's what he told me.
So I got to pay you to play, right? Yes, yeah. Exposure. Right.
Yeah, Ralph Murphy, who's not with us anymore, but he was from MassCap.
Yeah.
He said, exposure. You can die from exposure.
You can die from exposure, as we just learned in the pandemic.
Right.
Right. But this study, what I hope the outcome of it is it's not just to protect the ones we've got left, but it's the ones of the future. When I say protecting and preserving culture, it's not preserving what was in a historic building, but the culture of a local independent music venue to be able to thrive here and support those working creatives.
What about the Ryman? Who owns the Ryman?
Well, Ryman Hospitality owns the Ryman, so that's not going anywhere.
Oh, okay.
Grand Ole Opry, they own that one too. Old Red is another place on Broadway that they own. All iconic places, of course. But what we don't want, and we're seeing this in other cities, the corporatization of venues. I'm not anti-Live Nation or AEG or anything like that, but we have to have that healthy balance, that healthy ecosystem, and that local independent business owner needs to be able to thrive in this city, not just barely survive.
Last time we were on, we talked about how you can't, musicians can't come here and live for nothing anymore.
Right, yeah.
They have to,
right.
Rents are so high that it's not the same type of place where you could just come down here and sleep on someone's couch or something.
Right. No, you're absolutely right that the independent local music venues is highlighting that
also the music companies themselves are less accommodating, less friendly. You can't just walk in the door anymore.
So true. Yeah.
You can't walk in the door anymore. So here I am, here, listen to this.
You're right.
It's sort of like it was one of my experiences in New York. I'd go up there and says, get out of here. You know, you can't even build in CBS.
Right.
Because Black Rock, they call it.
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah.
Or is that something else?
Yeah.
Anyway, the CBS 51st and 52nd Street or something. You know, you can't even get in the building. You can't get bottom floor. So.
No, you're absolutely right. Those days of having a big budget at a label and you throw about 5 or 6 songwriters up there and let's say those 2 stick, you know, those days are over. I don't think that they sign you anymore unless you built your own business and your career. And then once you've done that, then maybe a label will take you, right? That's what it seems to be.
As an artist, if you come with some money attached to you,
yeah, right.
Some
then,
investors attached to you.
The private-public partnership.
it's a lot easier to
right.
get by. But I don't know. I've lost track of it already.
Yeah, but these are the kinds of critical things I want to be able to do.
Are you a musician?
I play piano. I was a piano major at MTSU. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I did the whole classical and jazz thing, and.
Do you ever play for people, or?
You know, as I've gotten older, I've kind of settled into the blues. You know, for the past 11 years, one of my gigs at BMI is I represent BMI on the board of the Blues Foundation out of Memphis. You know, it's kind of
So you're still playing?
You know, every now and then over at
a piano at home?
You know, for sure. You know, over at Bourbon Street Blues and Boogie Bar, or we used to have jams at Carol Ann's Cafe on Murfreesboro Pike. Yeah, I would play at those. It was like when we had our jams at Carol Ann's, it was like Sunday night dinner with family, and then you go up and play, and you know. And then the jams at Bourbon Street were on Mondays, and of course they got the B3, which makes you sound good no matter what. You know.
So you were majoring in music?
Yeah, I majored in music. Yeah,
oh.
That was my major.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I started out wanting to be a high school band director.
So you majored in music and became.
In the business.
In the business.
Yeah, I got in the business.
And I majored in political science.
And you became a musician.
Yeah.
There you go. You put us together, we'll find our way.
The value of that education. Anyway, we got to get going. We're almost out of time.
Oh, wow. Well, this was fun. Again, thanks for having me.
Anytime. You're always welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse.
So my guest today is Jeff Syracuse from Buffalo, New York. And my name's Jesse Goldberg, and we'll be back again next week with another edition of the show.